Back in August of last year, the newest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show was released. Tales of the TMNT. No, not that one. The other one. This is going to be confusing. The reason I'm just not making a video on it is because it was released on Peacock, which I don't have, so I wasn't able to watch the show until it came onto Netflix recently. The show is a follow-up to Mutant Mayhem, the newest TMNT movie that was released in 2023. And I like that movie. I thought it was really well done. I hate that it replaced Rise of the TMNT so quickly, since that show deserved so much more than it got. But other than that, the movie was great. The show, on the other hand, I'm not going to call it bad. I enjoyed quite a bit of it. But it's just kind of a nothing series. It's not terrible, but it doesn't do anything amazing either. The biggest problem with it is the pacing. The show feels so slow and pointlessly dragged out. I'll get into more details later on, but for right now, I'll just say that all the episodes are somewhat episodic, and they all center around different characters and conflicts, but are part of one larger story. One last thing before I get into the specifics. Can we please stop structuring seasons into 2 parts? I don't like it with Dragons Rising, Dreams, and some seasons of TMNT 2012. And this show doesn't too. The first 6 episodes are about the Turtles being hunted down by killer robots, and episodes 7 through 12 are about the Turtles fighting the East River 3. Starting with the show's animation, it's overall good. The character movement can be a bit choppy a lot of the time, but I think the reason for that is that they're trying to replicate the style of Mutant Mayhem the best they could, and to do that they had to cut back on some other areas like the character movement. But when this show's animation is good, it's really good. The show has some really fantastic fight scenes. By far the best one is when the Turtles fight Goldfin in the final episode. That action scene is amazing. As for some other good things, the show's humor is fairly decent. There are quite a few good jokes in here. Specifically, I remember finding episode 3 pretty funny.
Did you tie me up with an extension cord?
And what about it? He's a turtle?
Yes, he's a turtle. Do you not watch TV?
Wait, what did you think I was?
Crab?
Metalhead is in this. I don't have much more to say about him. I just wanted to mention that he's in like 1 episode before getting destroyed. The villains are bad. They're not anything groundbreaking, but they're not bad at all. You got this universe's version of Bishop, who's wanted to use technology to make people's lives better her entire life. But when her life's work is destroyed by Superfly while he was stomping around the city, she begins to hate mutants and blames the Turtles specifically for what happened. So she created the Mechazoids, which are designed to hunt and kill all mutants. What she didn't realize though is that some humans also have mutations, like having 2 different colored eyes. And then the robots develop a consciousness and decide that all life should be destroyed. You know, your basic robot apocalypse stuff. This causes Bishop to have a change of heart and help shut down the Mechazoids. And then there's the East River 3, a group of mutant sea animals who were mutated when Superfly's mutation gun thing fell into the river. They were forced out of their home for being different right before some random fisherman accidentally discovers the giant pearl that's in the river. So the plan is to steal the pearl by flooding the city to cause a distraction so that they can easily break into the museum, get the pearl, and take it back home in hopes that they'll be accepted by all their friends and family again. And don't ask me why these guys go after the Turtles. The Turtles don't even know these guys exist until they show up and randomly start attacking them.
Yes! I am just here to get groceries. Just go, for real. I won't stand in your way.
Ow! Cut it out!
Who are you?
You're asking who I am?
What? No, it was just, more of a how do you exist kind of question. I don't.
This is one of my biggest issues with the second half of the season. The Turtles are not a part of the East River's plan whatsoever. I'm not even sure how they knew they existed. There's this one scene where Goldfin is telling Splinter that they've already dealt with 1 turtle, and that they're going to get the rest or something like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, how does this guy know who the Turtles are? He would know about Raph since he already fought off these blob things who were working for the East River 3. But for all he knows, Raph is the only one. I guess they would know about the turtles since they watched a lot of TV to learn how to speak and stuff. So, okay, that makes sense. But two more things. One, how did Goldfin know where they live? And two, why do they even see the turtles as a threat? If anything, I would think that if they saw the mutants like them, then they would get excited and want to meet them. And it's not that they don't like the turtles because they're friends with humans and they hate humans. Because these guys are cool with humans. They ask a few for help stealing back the pearl and even talk about living a life in the city, getting jobs and stuff. I guess since the turtles are like the heroes of the city, they would be worried that they would get in the way. But I don't know. If that was the case, then wouldn't it make more sense to do things as quietly as possible to try and not draw the attention of the turtles instead of barging into the home and beating up Splinter for no reason?
I think we're good there.
Like in episode 8, Mikey and Genghis go grocery shopping, and because of Lee, who's been tunneling around the city, part of the ground in the store collapses, revealing the sewer underneath. Lee just so happens to swim under the store, and she comes up into the store and starts attacking everyone for literally no reason. Am I missing something here? She doesn't know who Mikey is yet, but she still goes out of her way to attack him for no reason. Mikey was just getting groceries. And it's not like Lee and Sally are attacking them just for the fun of it, because those two aren't villains. All they want is to go home. Okay, that's probably my second biggest complaint with this series. My biggest issue is how both parts are structured. The first half of the season is told out of order. Episode 1 starts with the turtles getting ready for a party, but they keep getting strange alerts saying there's something going on at the docks, so they go to check it out. Except we don't see what happened at the docks until episode 5. After the turtles leave the zoo, we get quick flashes of what happened, and see that there was a big explosion that separated the turtles. And from there, the rest of episode 1, along with episodes 2 through 4, are each dedicated to following a turtle who's running away from one of the Mechazoids. Episode 1 follows Leo and April in the apartment building that the party is happening in. Episode 2 is about Mikey, who got stuck with Bishop's intern, Rob, who really wants Mikey to turn him into a mutant by injecting him with some of his blood.
I can't. It's too irresponsible. Leo always says,
I'll throw in $1 million.
I'm in.
And instead of Rod getting mutated, some random bird does, creating this universe's version of Pigeon Pete. Episode 3 introduces this universe's purple dragons, who kidnap Raph. This includes Hun, who in this version is an animal-loving softie. He's not necessarily a bad character, he's very decent, but this just doesn't feel like Hun.
Hey, Hagrid?
Now, I'm not against changing characters up and making them different from the previous versions. I'm someone who likes 2012 Bishop, though it might be because I'm biased towards 2012, and this was the only version of Bishop I knew for a long time. But I don't know, taking Hun, who is this big, threatening, no funny business type of guy, and turning him into someone who can't even take a stupid insult and is the butt of every joke, it just doesn't feel right. Episode 4 might be my favorite episode aside from episodes 6 and 12. It follows Donnie, who is running away from Mechazoid 4 in the subway, which is always one of the best locations in this franchise. Bishop is pretty involved in this episode as well, and I really like that they paired her up with Donnie. It just makes sense and makes for some great banter.
Are you seriously getting a phone call right now? I'm sorry, is my existential struggle for survival messing with your social calendar? Do you need to reschedule?
Be quiet!
No, really, it's okay. We can do this later.
Not you!
In all of these episodes, we get a scene where the turtles are explaining what happened at the docks to someone, but the catch is that they're all unreliable narrators, so we don't see what really happened until episode 5. And this is a really cool way to structure a season, keeping the turtles' first encounter with Bishop and the Mechazoids a secret, and only showing the aftermath of what happened, as well as giving us small glimpses of what actually happened at the docks. That would be a really cool way to present the story, if it was done well. Typically, when a story is told out of order, it's to build up a mystery, or to possibly keep a secret so that you can have some kind of twist later on. Tales doesn't have either of these. Once we do see what actually happened at the docks in episode 5, nothing new is revealed. In episode 1, we learned that Bishop was the one sending the alerts to the turtles to lure them into a trap. The turtles fall for it, meet Bishop, are ambushed by the Mechazoids, and then there's somehow a big explosion that separates everyone. In episode 5, we see the turtles fall for Bishop's trap, get ambushed by the Mechazoids, and accidentally cause the big explosion by dropping one of the robots into a shipping container full of fireworks. There is no reason why the turtles' first encounter with Bishop couldn't have been episode 1 and then episodes 2 through 5 be all their solo adventures. If that were the case though, then you'd have to combine Bishop's backstory with another episode, since her backstory is in episode 5. But that really wouldn't be a problem since her backstory is only like 6 minutes. So yeah, because of this, it makes that whole part of the season feel completely pointless and really forced. And the second half of the season is arguably worse. Episodes 7 through 12 are presented as a story being told by Splinter for one of April's school projects. So every episode begins and ends with everyone in the sewer listening to Splinter tell his story, while April is recording him. And of course, in every episode, there's at least one point where one of the turtles butts in to mention something right in the middle of the episode. I really don't get why this was done. It adds nothing to the story. If anything, it's kind of annoying. There were some decent parts of it, like Leo being embarrassed about his part of the story, but I just don't get why this was done. Most of these later episodes feel like nothing and are extremely dragged out, and even kind of boring at points. Episode 7 follows Raph, Scumbug, and Rayfilet as they fight these blob things to try and stop them from flooding the sewer. Episode 8 is about Mikey and Genghis Frog going grocery shopping, only to stumble into a robbery and be attacked by Lee. One thing I will say about this episode is that the purple dragons are here robbing the grocery store, and while I do like them in episode 3, by the end of the episode, I kind of forgot that these guys were meant to be criminals. So when I saw them in episode 8 threatening people with knives and bricks, it took me off guard a bit. Especially in the case of Hun.
I'm gonna eat the cat.
What is wrong with you, Frog?
Episode 9 is by far the worst episode of the season. It's literally titled Splinter and April Fight a Goldfish. And yeah, that's all the episode is. It's just a very long, dragged out action scene. Episode 10 follows Donnie and Wingnut as they go deeper into the sewer to repair the Wi-Fi that was taken out by the storm. This episode has some interesting ideas, like Wingnut talks about how Leatherhead has been acting strange lately, and that her search history is filled with articles about demutation stuff. And then they run into an alligator and think it's Leatherhead, only to later find out it's not, and at the end of the episode, Leatherhead mentions that she likes being a mutant. Having Leatherhead actually not like being a mutant and would rather be just a normal alligator is such an interesting concept that they completely throw away at the end of the episode. Episode 11 is about Leo trying to get Sally to not flood the city, and at the same time is trying to keep track of Pigeon P, who can talk now.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Maybe we can still stop this. Oh my god, you can talk!
And finally, episode 12 is basically just 2 long action scenes, and it's probably my favorite episode. Goldfin betrays Lee and Sally for, honestly, not completely unjustified reasons. His reasoning for not wanting to return the pearl back to the river is that if the sea creatures in the river were really their friends, then they wouldn't have rejected them when they were mutated, which is pretty reasonable. But then the other reason he doesn't want to return the pearl is because he becomes greedy and wants to keep it for himself to become rich. This is also the episode with one of the best fights I've ever seen. Like, just watch it. The only thing I want to mention about this episode is that there's this one point where Splinter comes in with an army of rats and he's called the Rat King. In a vacuum, there's nothing wrong with this. It's a good scene. But in the past, the Rat King has been known as Splinter's worst enemy, behind Shredder of course. He's messed with his mind and tormented him, making him almost do some terrible things, and in some versions, Splinter gives in and does some terrible things because of the Rat King. So making this universe's version of the Rat King Splinter feels very wrong and kinda disrespectful. Now there is a chance that they will introduce a more traditional Rat King later on, and if they do, then that will make this line a lot better. I do think that this Bernie guy kinda looks like the Rat King, so maybe they'll turn him to the king. One last thing about the second half of the show is that it feels kind of repetitive. The first 6 episodes had the Turtles being split up and then reunited in the final episode, and the exact same thing happens in the last 6 episodes. The Turtles are split up only to reunite in the final episode for one last confrontation with the villain. I've mentioned a couple of times that the show feels really slow and dragged out, and I think that's due to the episode length. These episodes are 22 minutes each, and personally, I love the 22-minute length. But I think this is the first ever show I can say that the 22-minute episodes do not work for it. These plots feel unnecessarily dragged out to reach that 20-minute mark. The show would have been a lot better if its episodes were 11 minutes long. Every single episode, except for maybe episodes 5 and 6, could very easily be shortened down to 11 minutes. I think the reason episodes 6 and 12 are my favorite is because those are the episodes where the Turtles are together and working as a team, and of course that's where any piece of TMNT media shines. Having the Turtles being split up isn't at all a bad idea, but having only one of your 4 main characters in an episode for 4 to 5 episodes straight just makes the show as a whole feel slow. I think other than episodes 6 and 12, episode 1 is the best in this department, since Leo is paired up with April, and thankfully there isn't any kind of romance stuff in this episode. Yeah, sure, the Turtles are all together in episode 5 as well, but episode 5 is just an elongated version of the same events we've been seeing for the past 4 episodes, so it doesn't really count. I think that's just about all I gotta say about this first season of the show. Overall, the season is extremely slow and dragged out, and there are some aspects of it that weren't as thought out as they should have been. The humor is pretty good, as well as the voice acting and animation. These characters feel like the same characters from the movie, and this feels like the same world. This might be one of my favorite versions of April, though that's not saying a whole lot since April's a character I've never really cared about. I'm kind of surprised that Casey Jones wasn't introduced in the show. Angel is here, and if I remember right, those 2 characters are pretty connected. It's nice to see Splinter get in on some of the action. Pairing each of the Turtles up with 1 or 2 of Superfly's mutants was a good idea. Speaking of Superfly, it's cool how both of the show's villains are direct consequences of what happened in the movie. One last thing I want to mention is that I wish we got to see some of the Turtle school life. That's the big thing that separates these Turtles from all the previous versions. So I kind of wish we got at least just a couple of minutes of that part of their lives, since we didn't get much of it in the movie. Okay, now I think that's all I have to say about the show. This is without a doubt the worst animated TMNT show, though I'm sure that there are still going to be some people who much prefer this over Rise for stupid reasons. Anyways, what do you guys think about the show? It's been really nice to talk about this franchise again, even if it has been mostly negative. And with that, if you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate it if you took 2 seconds to like and subscribe. Bye!